All right, hello and welcome everybody. Hope you're doing super well this afternoon. I know it's a beautiful Sunday outside in a lot of places, so if you're watching today, I appreciate it. And I want to say happy Financial Literacy Month, right? So you guys all know that I am so passionate about financial education and improving your knowledge around finances because I just see the impact it makes when people get good financial information and they put it into action and they change their life, right? And that goes before retirement and into and after retirement. So I want to do something different today, right? I mean, we're going to do a Q&A. We've done these before, but I wanted to talk really about the subject of financial literacy. So, according to some of these statistics, they say on average about 3 out of 4 people doesn't have $1,000 of cash put aside for an emergency, right? And something like 64% of people don't have $400 put aside for an emergency. So that's absolute craziness. I know some people have certain circumstances, but at the end of the day, if you're walking around with a brand new iPhone and you got brand name clothing, there should be a few $100s in your account at least in case something were to come up. So this is why I'm so passionate, because once you learn these skills, once you implement them in your life consistently, the amount of change that happens in people's lives is just amazing. So I want to just come on for every weekend this month, and maybe we'll do some more, right? Maybe we'll do some more during the week and do some Q&A and answer your questions just about more of like the basic financial topics, because we talk about a lot of advanced information sometimes. And I know it just goes right over the heads of some people. So I want to kind of take a few steps back, pull the reins in a little bit, and I want to talk about some things that are just maybe a little bit more basic. And I don't want you to feel any sort of shyness or embarrassment if you have a question to ask, because questions are the way to getting the answers that you need, right? So if you don't ask, you don't know. And a question not asked is probably the silliest question of all. So we have some questions in here, which are great. If you are watching this live, go ahead and just drop your question down in the comments. If you could do something for me real quick and let me know, give me a thumbs up, say yes, say hello if you can hear me and it's coming through clearly, because that's so important. I want to make sure the tech is working properly. So if you could give me some thumbs up here or just say hello and say yes so you can hear me, I would appreciate that. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason J. Hamilton. I am a chartered retirement planning counselor, and I'm the founder and CEO of Keep It Simple Financial Planning, a registered fee-only advisor in Orange County, California, and the admin of this page and this group. So, and I do also do a lot of work with the nonprofit space up in Los Angeles, and the name of the nonprofit I work with is called IDEAL CDC. And so I'm doing this in partnership with them today just to raise some awareness around financial literacy and then some of the programs that they offer, which are around financial coaching, one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I'm teaching a retirement class on May 18th, Saturday, May 18th in East LA. So you're all welcome to come to that. And that's at 715 Brady Avenue. It's posted on my Facebook page. So if you have any questions about that, I would be more than happy to answer them. And then we also do entrepreneurship programs and programs for young adults that we help them prepare for college and for the workforce. So for example, last month we did a resume workshop and we helped all the kids. We brought in some professionals from human resources and taught them how to write a really wonderful resume. We took beautiful headshots for them, and now we're going to help them get all that good information onto their LinkedIn profile so that they can have that and be ready for what it takes to succeed in today's workforce. So a lot of really good stuff this nonprofit's doing. So I really want to support them and make sure you guys know about the work that's going on. So looks like, let me see here, make sure I'm getting some comments to make sure everything's coming through clearly here before we jump in, and I'm going to go right into your questions. So let's see what we got here. Okay, loud and clear. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let me pull up some of these comments here. Okay, great. So again, if you have questions you want me to talk about today, I'm going to do my best to answer all of them, and feel free to just put them in the comments and we'll talk about that. And I'm going to go in order. And I have something I'm excited about because I'm a big tech nerd, okay? So, but I'm also kind of frugal, you could say, or cheap in a sense. So for the longest time, I didn't want to upgrade my iPad, but I've recently upgraded to an iPad and Apple Pencil here. And so we're going to be able to do some demonstration here with drawing some things out, kind of like on a whiteboard, right? So I think that'll be really useful for you guys to see. And I think that will be good. And it just works so much better. For those of you that have been around a while, last time it did it, it was just a mess. I tried to buy the highest quality thing you could get, but it's not really a substitute. So they had this new iPad that came out. It works great, and so we're going to use that today as well. So let's jump into some of these questions here. And second of all, I want to say thank you for being here, right? It's really important to me you guys show up, and it means a lot. So I really appreciate you guys showing up to listen. I want to thank you for that. Let's pull some of this up here. Okay, we're going to swap this out. And we're going to do this here so that I can do some little drawings here for you. Okay. So let's see. Some of the questions are showing, some are not showing, because I have some other ones on my phone in my group. Okay. So I want to talk, they're not all showing. Okay, so Craig had a question about having 6 credit cards with limits of $10,000. Do we close all the ones we don't use or use them all occasionally? Okay, so we had a comment here that said cut them all up. And someone else said not necessarily we make a lot of money off our credit cards, right? So credit cards in themselves, right, are neither good or bad. Okay, just like most financial products in themselves, they're neither good or bad. But used inappropriately or used by somebody who does not have financial self-control, credit cards can be very bad, okay? In reality, I've seen people build 800 plus credit scores, having one credit card, paying it off every month, never paying one penny of interest. So I don't think you need a bunch of credit cards, Craig. But if you are looking to like maybe apply for a loan, if you're trying to purchase a home, refinance your home, if you wanted to purchase a car on a loan, which is not always a great idea, especially in retirement. But just for an example, if you do close those cards in the short term, your credit score will drop a little bit, right? So if it drops a little bit, then that is going to possibly raise your interest rates. So I would base that question on if you need them or if you don't need them. And then also if you're going to be purchasing anything on credit anytime soon. Because if you're not going to, then you can probably close them down and just keep one, maybe 2, have good rewards and keep that going. I know some people are 100% against credit cards, but I work with a lot of folks that are younger, and then some folks that are new immigrants to this to the country. So actually, let me switch this back real quick because this is an important point. I work with a lot of folks that are younger and that are new to this country. Okay, and so if you have no credit at all, it doesn't mean you can't get approved in certain places, and certain places won't take you. Okay, but if you're new to this country, you've been here a year, year and a half, 2 years. Which is a lot of folks that I work with to help them get acclimated here and learn the financial systems here. Well, it's going to be really hard sometimes to get a affordable rental, right, of some sort. Even jobs are going to pull your credit report, okay? Don't always recommend you buy a car on credit, but if you have no credit at all, buying a car on credit is going to be really tough. So I don't think credit cards are the devil, but I think they are very dangerous. And in all honesty, I've even caught myself in the past spending more than I would if I used a debit or cash, because you just don't feel it the same way. And it's true. It does not activate the same sensors in your brain, right? Like it doesn't activate the same way. It doesn't feel the same way because it doesn't come out of your account immediately, or you don't lose that paper out of your pocket. So you have to be really careful with credit cards, but keeping one, using it for something like gas or groceries and paying it off every single month and never carrying a balance is not the end of the world. But they can get you in trouble very quickly, so I have to put a big disclaimer up about that you should be very careful with that, Craig. So as long as you feel that you are not going to overspend and you're not an overspender, it's really up to you. It's not going to hurt you either way. I would recommend if you can keep the account that's been open the longest, okay? The one that's been open the longest, because that gives you the longest credit history. That's probably a good idea. But do you need to have 6? Probably not. 1, maybe 2 at most is probably reasonable. But again, if you have spending issues, then you should probably just cut them all up, like someone said. I think it was, let me see who said that. Scott said that. You should listen to Scott. If you have spending issues, if you're carrying balances, you're not paying them off every month, then they got to go. Okay, they got to go that way. Okay, so good question though. Okay, so let's talk about some of these other ones. Okay, so let's see here. Not all my comments are showing on the screen. I would love to have everything come up, but it's not coming up like I want it to. That's okay. Okay, so let's talk about Joanne's question here. All right. Okay. So hopefully you can see this okay. And I'm going to switch this out here for a second. Okay. So I'll make this a little smaller. I don't think we need to see that big. Okay. So Joanne is asking an iPERS question. So I'm guessing that's Illinois pension system, pension something retirement system. And she says, if I buy 20 quarters, okay, so for those of you that don't know, if you have a pension, sometimes you can buy extra quarters. So what that means is you're buying credits in a sense, so that you can get more money, right, for your pension. So that's really what it comes down to for this, okay? So this is going to be, we're going to do some basic math here, but this is how I would think about it, Joanne. And that's a lot of money if you think about it, okay? So let's take what you'd have to put in, okay? So you'd have to put in, let's see here, 29,000, okay? And then that gives you an extra $250 per month, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at when are you going to break even, right? So when are you going to break even by doing this, and what does that look like? So if you put 29,000 and you divide that by 250, okay, that is, so break even. For those of you that have been around a while, isn't this pencil so much better? It's so much better. Oh my goodness, this is great. Break even is 116 months, and we're going to divide that by 12, and so that is 9.67 years. Okay, so it's going to take you about 10 years to break even. Okay, so I would need a little bit more information, to be honest with you. So if you're 63, like it says here, and you are going to break even essentially right about 73, a little bit before that, and then you have 250 a month, that goes on perpetually. If you look at the life expectancy, right, for women, which right now is about 86 years old, I think it's 85.6 or something like that. That means 50% of people live to about 86 or less, and then 50% of people live longer, okay? And it's very probable that you would live longer than that if you are healthy. So I would look and consider, do you have health issues of any sort? Is there any reason you wouldn't make it that long? And then I would also look at, do you have a cost of living adjustment? Okay, so COLA, okay? Do you have a COLA? So what that means is, if you were to put in this money and you were to get this extra 250, do you get an increase on that every year of, say, 3%, on your pension increase every year? Because a lot of pensions don't have that. And so that makes the money less valuable at that point. Because if you invested that money conservatively, okay, so let's say you invested it conservatively, 29,000. Okay, let's say you got 6%, and you did that for 10 years. Okay, let me put that in here. So let's do 29,000. Present value, 6, interest rate, 10 years. Okay, so in 10 years, if you didn't touch this money, okay, if you invested this money and conservatively got 6%, this will be worth about $51,934 in 10 years. Okay, so this is what you're looking at possibly giving up if you were to take this chunk of money and you didn't need it for 10 years and you kept it invested. Okay, so 6% is pretty conservative. I think that's very reasonable that you can get if you were to invest that money in a balanced portfolio of some sort. So that's the question, right? Is that something you think is comfortable for you, or are you somebody that you just do not want to invest your money at all? You want it in something safe like a CD that might be paying 2.5, maybe 3% at this point, and you want to get that, right? So, if you can put it into the pension and then get a cost of living adjustment, let's say it's 3%, and then you can continue that additional money that keeps on going after, then it might start to make some sense for you, right? So as with everything, these calculations are very individual. And I do want to remind you that none of this should be tax, investing, financial advice. This is just for educational purposes. But I wanted to show you an example here of how I would think through this. But I would also take into account what else are you going to do with the rest of your income sources, right? Because if you have Social Security, so let's say you have Social Security, and if you were to take it at, let's say you're 63, let's say you're taking it at 63, and let's say it's $2,000, right? But if you were to delay that to 60, let's say full retirement age, maybe that's 66 and 5 months or something like that, or 6 months. and it's now $2,500. So you're going to take your Social Security early versus delaying your Social Security, which I know has a cost of living adjustment, and then take that money and buy extra quarters on your pension, then I don't know if it makes as much sense, right? So as always, you definitely want to look at your whole scenario when it comes to this, but this is sort of how I would think through it, and then I would plug in all the other things we need to know, like Social Security numbers, the rest of your investment portfolio information, and I want you to look at this as a whole, okay? So not just in this one little tiny island, okay? This has to be taken care of as a whole, okay? So hopefully that helps, and if there's any questions, you can put that in the comments, and I will come back to that, okay? All right, so good question, though. So let's take this off here. Okay. Got a question here from John, okay? John says, if I start contributing 5% to a new Roth 401k plan being offered at work, is it true that the company match will be pre-tax in traditional 401k? So the answer is yes. Right now, currently, when you have an employer match, it goes pre-tax. There's been some talk of allowing that to go towards the Roth contribution as well, which would be wonderful. But for right now, yes, your money would go in after tax, and then the match you got would be pre-tax. So not necessarily a bad thing, right? That's tax diversification, so that could be a good thing. And then it saves you a little bit of tax that you're paying on it this year, because if your employer put money in after tax, then you'd have to pay tax on that, and you wouldn't see anything from it. So, I think it's a trade-off, but to answer your question, that's how it would work, okay? Let's see here. We have questions here that are not showing up on my comments here, but I will answer them anyways. Okay, so Michelle asks, we have a smaller Roth 401k and a large IRA through Fidelity. Can I simply transfer the money from the IRA to the Roth 401k? Yes, I know about the yearly limits and paying taxes on the transfer, and will adhere to that. Husband retires in October, and I'd like to max out this year's contributions while he is working. Okay, so just didn't know if this would come in from an IRA or his actual paycheck. Okay, I wish I could show this comment on the screen because it's some good info. It's a lot of info, actually. Okay, so here's a scenario. They have at Roth 401k, Roth 401k at work, okay? And then they have an IRA. Looks like it's traditional, so that means pre-tax. For those of you that don't know what traditional IRA, it's pre-tax IRA. And Michelle's asking, can she essentially roll that or transfer that into her Roth 401k at work? So I think that's going to be a mess. So if you had a workplace plan that, say it was your regular 401k, and it allowed for you to roll in other IRAs that you have, so maybe a previous rollover IRA or even just your traditional IRAs, to get inside the 401k, and then from the 401k, you were going to then go for a Roth conversion, right? That would make a lot more sense because that keeps it a little cleaner. But for you to roll it right from your traditional IRA into a Roth 401k, don't think that's a good idea. I don't even know if you can do that, but it's not a good idea either way, but I don't think you can do that. And then the other thing Michelle says is that her husband retires in October and she'd like to max out this year's contributions. Okay, so even if you had a traditional 401k, which I'm sure you do because you have a Roth 401k, so I'm sure you have a traditional, you could roll that IRA into the traditional, okay? I think that would be a better move if you're allowed to do that. And then if your husband's still working, that tells me his tax bracket's probably a lot higher this year. So it most likely would make sense to wait until after he retires, especially if he's retiring in October. So he's going to be working the whole year, probably have his full salary. So it probably would make more sense the following year to start considering partial Roth conversions. So for those of you that don't know what partial Roth conversions are, that's where you roll over a certain amount from a pre-tax IRA or 401k account to a post-tax or a Roth account, which can then grow tax-free forever. So this is a little more advanced. We're talking about financial literacy this month, but this is more of an advanced type of situation. But my point of bringing this up is if you roll that money in, that doesn't count as a contribution anyway. So if you're trying to max out contributions, that needs to come from his paycheck, okay? So if you rolled the money in, that would have no effect on the contributions necessarily. That would have to be from his paycheck. So that's just rolling more money into the plan. So there's a couple things here, Michelle. Like, I really recommend you actually get professional advice, because it sounds like there's some gaps here in your understanding of this. So if you're looking to do something like this and consider some partial Roth conversions, you can really mess some things up if you get it wrong, and it will be a huge nightmare of mess of tax situation later down the road. Okay, so I would recommend highly that you get financial advice on this from someone who's done this before, tax, or a financial advisor that is familiar. Okay, so I would not do anything about what you're talking about. I would consider maxing out that Roth 401k, absolutely, because right now, if you're over 50, you and him each have $7,000 you can contribute to a Roth IRA. But a Roth 401k will have not only the $19,000, but an additional catch-up, which I think $6,000, so a total of $25,000. I have my cheat sheet here. I think it's $25,000 of total money you can put in there. Yeah, I think that's right. That you can put as a catch-up contribution. So I would just put as much of your salary as you can into that Roth 401k, as long as you're comfortable with it, if that's what your goal is to max out that Roth account. Okay. So good question. But I think there's some things we need to cover. Okay. Let's see here what we got. Okay, so Pat has a good question here. All right, so Pat asks, if you are retired and don't need money on any given year, is it wiser to take 3% and maybe sock it away into a CD or the like, or leave the 3% invested if you do not need it that year? So I'm a little bit confused. So if you don't need, okay, does it sounds like you might be, and Pat, I think I know you. I think you're already RMD age. But if you're talking about just taking money out of your pre-tax account to then just put it into a CD for no reason, no, I wouldn't do that. I would only take it if you actually need it. If it's coming out of an RMD, for example, and you have to take that out, and for those that don't know, an RMD is a required minimum distribution. And if you have pre-tax accounts like 401ks or IRAs, at 70 and a half years old, you are required to start taking out some of that money, or else the government will tax you about 50% of what you're supposed to take out. So it sounds like that's what's going on. So if that's the case, Pat, and you have to take that money out because it's an RMD, then yeah, sure, absolutely. Get that into something earning interest. Having it just sit there earning nothing doesn't make any sense. So I would definitely do something like that. I think that would be a great idea in that case. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So Marie has a question here. Marie is 61 and still working, and she's considering selling her home. Hopefully we'll have a chunk of money. Any suggestions where I should invest it? Well, Maria, that's kind of a loaded question, right? So we need to know a lot more about your scenario before we know where you should invest the money, okay? So if you're 61 and still working, you're going to have a couple places that you can invest, okay? And so I'll be looking at things on, especially at 61, I'm going to look at ways for tax diversification, okay? So let's just help everybody to start from the beginning, okay? If you're not sure where to invest, if you're not sure, maybe you're just getting started, maybe you don't know about how to get started investing or where to go, let's talk about that, okay? So when you get started investing, you really have three big buckets, okay? So you have pre-tax investing, okay? And that's going to be like a 401k, okay? Maybe if you're a teacher, you work for the state or a hospital, you have a 403b, not a 40b, 403b, okay? And then you have an IRA, okay? And that would be traditional, they call it. Okay, so that's a pre-tax IRA. So those are pre-tax retirement accounts, okay? So what that means is you could put money in there from your paychecks or from your income this year, and then you get a deduction in this year. So if you were to put money in for 2019, you would get a deduction on 2019's contributions. Something I want to point out that I put a note down for myself. If you have not have filled up your IRAs for 2018, you can still contribute to your IRAs, your traditional and your Roth IRA, for 2018 up until April 15th. So you have about another week or so, a little bit over a week to do that. So if you have not put in the full amount for your IRAs for 2018, I definitely would recommend you do that. Okay, so let's talk about some limits here on these really quick. Okay, so at your 401k at work, you have a certain limit. So for 2019, okay, so for 2019 you could put in $19,000 for 2019 here. Whoa. Okay, in your 401k. But if you are 50 or older, okay, so it's called a 50 plus catch up, you can put an additional $6,000. Okay? So if you are over 50, you could put up to $25,000 in your 401k. And a 403b, same deal. Okay? So for an IRA, for 2018, you can put in, why is it doing that? You can put in $6,000. Okay, and that's actually the same for 2018, 2019. But if you're over 50, then you could put in an extra $1,000. Okay. All right, so that's pre-tax. Okay, so if you have space in your pre-tax, so let's say you're in a high income, and kind of a rule of thumb, I don't think it's always the truth, but right now we have some of the lowest tax rates we've ever seen, right? In a really long time. And if you are married filing jointly, you can be in a 12% tax bracket up to $78,950. Okay. If you are single, it's $39,475. So if you're in a 12% tax bracket, $78,950 for married filing jointly, or $39,475 for single. Then you may want to consider what's called a Roth account, okay? And there's a Roth 401k and a Roth IRA. So a Roth account, you put money in after tax, okay? So you pay taxes today. Okay, so you pay taxes today, but then it grows tax free. Okay, tax free forever. Okay, Roth money is extremely, extremely valuable. So Marie, oh, you can't see what I'm doing here. Let me take this off for a second. Roth money grows tax free. Okay, so tax free money is very valuable, obviously, and it's especially valuable in retirement because there is no required minimum distribution at 70.5. So this is really, really great for tax diversification. Okay. So Roth accounts are really wonderful. So if you're in a 12% tax bracket or below, so if you're below this amount of income, your AGI, your adjusted gross income is below here, then a Roth account might make a lot of sense for you, okay? This is not financial advice, so please don't take it as financial advice, but it could make a lot of sense for you. But if you're in a higher tax bracket now, so let's say your tax bracket is, 22% or 24%, today, but it's going to be 12% in retirement, then you probably want to go back to one of these, okay? The pre-tax. That's probably going to make the most sense. But if you're going to have higher taxes in retirement, then it might make sense just to go Roth, okay? But some folks just like to do Roth anyways. They don't care. They'll pay the tax, but that's up to you. But let me talk to you about Roth accounts real quick. So we have Roth accounts. So we have a Roth IRA, okay, $6,000 limit. Okay, and you can contribute to a Roth IRA up until your income starts to hit. So for 2019. It is, let's see, 193. Oh, let's see. If you have, I think it's two. Oh, here it is. Okay. So for married filing jointly, up to a 193,000, you start to get a phase out, and then it completely phases out at 203,000. of income. Okay. But if you're single, then it's 122 to 137. Okay. So if you're below these, you can actually contribute to them right into a Roth IRA. $6,000 limit, and then plus $1,000 if you're 50 plus. Okay, so up to $7,000 at that point. So if you're in a 12% tax bracket or below, most likely a Roth IRA makes a lot of sense. But again, this is not investment advice. Please don't take it as this. This is purely educational. But Roth accounts can be very powerful. So that's number 2. Okay, so Roth money goes in after tax, and then it grows forever tax-free. Okay, so you have pre-tax. Okay, so pre-tax here. Then you're going to have after-tax here. Okay, which then becomes tax-free. And then you're going to have taxable accounts. Okay. And taxable accounts are simply just a brokerage account, right? So that's just simply if you're to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, outside of a retirement account. Okay? That's just normal taxable account. So you might pay a little bit of tax every year, not the end of the world, but you definitely want to max your tax advantage space if you can first before you go to taxable. Okay? So that is where you might want to look at that. Who asked that question? Let's see here. That was Marie. So those are the 3 areas I would look at. Okay? So let's say right now you have, let's say your situation is like this. You have 90% of retirement funds in your 401k. Okay? So let's say you have 90%. Okay? And this is your 401k. And let's say you have the other 10% in a Roth. Well, if you can, you might want to build this up a little bit because at 70.5, you're just going to get killed with RMDs. Okay, at 70.5. So you might want to put some money into a Roth IRA if you can, or you could just throw it in a taxable account. And I think that'd be just fine as well. Okay, but if you have space in your Roth is great. Since you're already 61, I believe I saw, first of all, you could take money out of a Roth anytime you want. So just so you guys know, you can take out contributions to your Roth anytime, no penalties, okay? Earnings, you have to wait at least 5 years, but if you're 59.5, then you can bypass that. But Roth money is very, very wonderful, and you can take out contributions anytime. But if money's in your 401k, then you're going to have to pay tax, and Marie would not have to pay any penalties because she's 61. But if you're younger than 59.5, then you would have to pay a penalty on that as well. Okay, so good question. Okay, let's see here. So Michelle has a question here about Social Security. Let's see here. Okay, so Michelle says, if I take Social Security early at 62 and say I live to 85, or wait until 70 and take Social Security and live to 85, I figure according to my SS, I am only losing around $85,000 if I take it 62, which I can make up on a part-time job if I wanted over a few years if I need it. Does it make sense to take SS at 62? Okay, so there's a couple things I think you're forgetting. Okay, so where's my numbers on this here? Okay, so here's the problem. Okay, so if you take SS at 62, okay, and you want to have a part-time job, okay, you can only earn up to $17,640, I believe it is. Let me double check that here. Yep, $640 per year, okay? If you make over $17,640, then your Social Security gets reduced by $1 for every $2. Every $2 you earn above $17,640. Okay? So if you're going to take Social Security early, and then you're going to work a part-time job, before your full retirement age, then you can't earn over $17,640, or else this is going to get reduced by $1 for every $2 you earn over that. The good news is you'll still get that money back later because your Social Security will adjust. But I would also question your $85,000 number, because I have a feeling, unless your benefit's small, but I have a feeling you're not taking into account the cost of living adjustment each year, okay? So if you were to delay from 62 to 63, it's about a 5.75% increase in your benefit, okay? And the same thing all the way until your full retirement age. So let's say your full retirement age was 66, then you'd be losing about 24% or so, a little bit less than that, 23% of your Social Security benefit from then and then going on forever. Not only do you lose that Social Security benefit, but you also lose the cost of living adjustment that goes on top of what you waited to increase, okay? So the typical break-even point for people is somewhere between 76 and 80, but you're assuming here that you're going to pass away at 85, right? So the average for women is 86, which means 50% of people live longer. So if you live to 90, for example, you might be giving up $100,000 or $200,000 more in retirement income by not waiting to delay. Not saying that's the right call. I'm just bring this up to help you understand so that you can see the point. So I keep covering these things. Sorry, guys. But if you earn over $17,640, Michelle, your Social Security gets reduced by $1 for every $2 you earned over that. Okay. So that's really, really important, because, if you're trying to take home income that year and you're working, you're kind of going against what you're trying to do here by taking the benefit early. So I would look at that, and I would consider all of that when it comes to making a decision. For most people, guys, like most of you are not going to pass away at like 75, right? Or 70. So for most people, it's going to make sense for you to delay a little bit, okay? If you have health issues, if you have medical issues, if you have financial issues that literally do not allow you to delay, then I'm not talking to you, okay? That's not what I'm talking to at all. I'm talking to the people that have some money in their 401ks, in their IRAs that they could possibly live off of if they wanted to retire a little bit early. But Michelle's talking about working, so why not just work part-time and make some money in between? Because Social Security is going to be so valuable for you when it comes to longevity security. And what I mean by that is on the back end of retirement, okay? When you're at 80, 85, that Social Security benefit could be worth a whole lot more. And again, I feel like you really need to do the calculations and go through in detail, because I have a feeling that 85K is probably going to be a little bit lower than it really is. But that's how I would be looking through that to make a decision, okay? And I would include that with the rest of your retirement benefits as well. Okay, so Pat asked, no, in addition to the RMD, about the 3%, she said taken out. No, what's the point, right? What's the point, Pat? Why would you want to take it out and pay taxes if it can grow tax deferred? That tax deferred money is more valuable. So I would not take that out. And for what reason? Just to put it into a CD. Doesn't make any sense. You could put it inside of a CD inside your IRA. So let's see here. Yeah, sorry, Don. I see. I'm multitasking here, Don, and they say you can't multitask. So I apologize. I had it covered on the screen. I'm going to try to get better about that. Let me see what other comments we have here in the group. Okay. So Gwen asked, what factors should be considered in deciding whether to take the smaller monthly pension so that her spouse will be able to continue getting something from it if she dies first? Options for me are to leave the beneficiary at 100%, 75%, with the deduction, the full monthly retirement, seemingly fairly significant to me. I wish I had these numbers. So Gwen, if you're watching, if you can give me these numbers, that would be more helpful. But I'll make up numbers to do an example here. My spouse and I will each have 3 pensions. So that tells me you have other sources of income, which is great. Oh, counting Social Security. Okay. So you have 3 pensions counting Social Security. So that takes away 2. So you probably have 1 more. She says she is thinking about taking the full amount and not providing for her spouse and on this particular pension, because he will have approximately the same amount of money as I would if the opposite occurred. However, I keep thinking how awful it would be to finally claim retirement, die within a few months, and leave almost nothing from that pension for anyone. I can also name my younger sister or even my child as a beneficiary. Okay, so Gwen, we can't assume you're going to die within a couple months, okay? I just don't think that's realistic unless you know something I don't know. But this fatalistic mentality that a lot of people seem to have is like, what if I die tomorrow and I don't get my money, right? Okay, that's possible. But a bigger concern, a much bigger concern is what if you live to 98? What if you live to 105? Okay, I have clients that have parents that are 103 years old and still drive to the store to get their groceries. Okay, so this is going to be a much bigger concern, guys. There is a crisis coming where people have undersaved and they have underplanned and they're taking like Social Security and pensions way too early, and they're going to run out of money because they don't think they're going to live to be 100. And it's going to be really scary. I'm telling you, this stuff is coming. So you really want to make sure that you prepare and don't think you're just going to pass away tomorrow. If you do, that's horrible, obviously, right? But that's not the likely case, okay? So we got to talk about likely cases, okay? And Gwen, since you're a woman, then there's probability on top of your scenario that you may actually live longer, okay? So I'm going to make up some numbers, and you could hopefully gain something from this on how I would think about it, okay? So let's go to a pension situation, okay? Okay, so Gwen said she has all these options with pensions, okay? So let's say your pension 100% with no beneficiary is, I don't know, let's say $2,000 per month, okay? And then let's say you have a 75% beneficiary, and then that drops it to, let's say that drops it to, I don't know, 1,800. Oh no. I just bought this today. Don't tell me it's already not working. That's not great. Not great. Not great at all, guys. Not great, Apple. What's going on here? Let me check my Bluetooth. Sorry, guys. Let me unhook this for a second. I know you guys are all probably going to sign off. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to do this, but something's going on with the Bluetooth, and I got to figure this out. So I don't know what is going on. Bear with me. I'm going to try and make it really quick and see what's going on here, because this is a really good question, actually, that a lot of people... okay, so that's working. Let's connect this. And see if we can connect it. All right, let me connect this really quick, guys. I'm so sorry. Don't leave yet. This is going to be a good question, I promise you. This is a really, really good question. So we need to get this connected here. I just bought this today, so I do apologize for the delay. So while this is figuring out this whole connection thing, okay, it looks like it's working now. All right, let's try this here. Well, it says it's connected. I don't know if it's working yet. We'll get this figured out here. Okay, this is not, I don't know what's going on here, guys. It's not great. Not making me happy. Okay, oh well, I'm going to talk my way through it. Just is what it is, so I got to figure, okay, maybe this is why. It just had a little stall. No? I don't understand, man. Doesn't want to work for us. Okay, I'm probably doing something wrong, but anyways, okay. So let's say you had a pension that was $2,000, and if you were to take the reduction and you took 75%, it would be reduced to $1,800, and then if you took a 50% benefit, which means your husband would get 50% left over if you passed away, it was $1,500. So we have a gap of $500 per month, okay? So we have a gap of $500 per month that you'd have to lose to give him the $1,500, okay? So there's a couple ways to look at this. Number one is, you are probably going to live longer, right? Females in general live longer than men. You guys make better decisions. It just is what it is. And you probably eat healthier than we do. And so women in general live longer. So that probability leads to me saying, well, if you're going to live longer, then you might want to take the higher benefit. Okay, that makes sense. Another thing is, what you could do is there's something called a pension maximization strategy that, let's say you bought some life insurance. Okay, so let's say you bought a term policy for $100 a month for 20 years. Well, if you were to come out ahead $500 by taking your full pension versus $1,500 by going 50%, and you had a life insurance policy you could buy for $500,000 for $100 a month, you'll still be ahead by $400. So if you pass away the next day, then he could get the $500,000 that would come in. So that might make a lot of sense for you to do something like that as well. So, when you look at the female usually living longer. And when you look at if you're able to qualify for a life insurance policy of some sort that is a significant amount less per month than your pension loss would be, And that might be a good way to do it. If it was the other way around, where it was the male in this case talking about this, then it might make more sense for you to get the benefit, because the last statistic I saw is something crazy, like females are living 14 years longer on average than their husbands. So that's a long time to go without that second benefit. So you could do the same thing with some life insurance, but it might make more sense for you to take the big benefit at that point. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, Gwen saying the numbers are close enough for her to get some advice here. So good. Okay, cool. So that makes sense, Glenn. So I would look at it that way. I would also look at a couple different things. Do you get more money for delaying your pension? Is there a cost of living adjustment on your pension? Excuse me. Because if there's no cost of living adjustment, then you might want to consider delaying Social Security. And you mentioned that as other pensions, because if you delay your Social Security, you do get a cost of living adjustment on that, right? So that will continue to go up forever. So that is something you really want to look at when it comes to this whole scenario. But there's a lot of pieces here, and I wouldn't just base it only on the pension. I would look at your Social Security. I would look at your investable assets that you have to draw off of. I would look at your all the pension sources, all the Social Security sources, and then I would look at things like health, and then also your necessity to leave a legacy behind. And you might actually want to look at what the lump sum payment is as well, because if you can take a lump sum payment and you get a big chunk of money that you can invest for yourself, then, and you're worried about passing away because maybe there's something going on health-wise, then that lump sum stays with you, right? So taking that lump sum can be very valuable, especially if you're worried about anything about passing away early, because that stays with you versus the pension that usually passes away with you, okay? So hopefully that helps you out. Okay, let's see here. What other questions we have? Okay. So Dina asked, I plan to retire in 10 years, age 70, if not before. We are debt-free, have savings, TSP for my job, a small IRA with Merrill Edge, and what should I be doing at this point to ensure I have enough money to live off in my retirement, okay? So number one, you want to figure out how much do you need to cover your expenses, okay? That's number one. I really wish this thing would work, because this is why I bought this stupid thing, so that I can do a written demonstration for you guys and show you physically. I'm going to shut this down and then start it back up, because this is such good stuff that if I drew it out, it would make so much more sense to you. I know it would just be really helpful. And that's what I want to do. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get why it's not working. Anyways, okay. So you want to know what you need to do to make sure to run out of money, okay? So number one is you need to figure out what you need to live off of, okay? And then most likely in your first years of retirement, usually 5 to 7, maybe 10 years, you're probably going to be doing all your bucket list things. You're going to be doing the traveling, spending more, and doing a lot more expensive things. So you want to build that into your budget. And then you want to run the different scenarios and multiple different market conditions on what would happen if you had a 30% downturn, right? How would that affect your portfolio? How would that affect your retirement? Are your investments set up appropriately to blockade against that, right? So do you have some sort of bucket strategy where you have, say, 5 years of money that's very secure, and then the rest of that money is invested appropriately for the later years, and so you have a good 5-year period that you don't have to worry about that. So there's really a lot that goes into your question, but I would want to make sure first that we're maximizing your Social Security, that we're maximizing all your income sources, and then get a really clear profile on your investor profile to see, where you're at, and making sure that you're not going to overspend too early. Because if you had a downturn in the market and you're overspending in the first 5 to 7 years, that is the riskiest time that you can worry about running out of money on the back end. So I would want to map all that out, and that's really what a retirement plan is at the end of the day. You're taking all of that plus the other sources. And then I would also consider now, if you're 60, planning for long-term care. Okay, so because many people have no plan for long-term care, and in today's dollars, it's going to be between $40,000 to $100,000 a year or more, right? If you have other specialty things like memory care, that could be over $10,000 a month because of the extra needs. So I would build in a long-term care plan on top of that. Make sure you either have insurance to cover or that you can self-fund, and making sure that you're good for the long term all around. Okay, it's just a lot of things you need to do. It's not really a simple question, Dina, but those are some things to start with. Okay. Alex asked, my husband works for USPS, and they've been paying $120 a month for an annuity / life insurance of $75,000. So I'm guessing that's like probably a hybrid sort of policy. Not sure if he made the right choice to purchase an annuity, and she wants advice. So I don't honestly know if I can give you advice on that without looking at your whole scenario. I don't know what $75,000 of life insurance is really going to do. I mean, it might help you out, but it's not like life changing, right? So 75,000 is something that's good to come in, but if 120 a month is very, very high for that amount of money, for that amount of coverage. So the first thing I would do is possibly, if you need insurance, which I don't know if you do or not, we don't know the scenario, I would say find out first, do you need insurance, okay? Because if you don't need insurance, then maybe this is kind of a null and void question and we don't have to worry about it. But if you need insurance, then that could be a whole different scenario. So I would look at your insurance need. Okay, good. I got this. Let's do this. Okay. I think I got something working, guys. So thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for not signing off. But let's see if I can get this properly doing its thing in just a second here. Maybe we can get it to work. Okay, anyways. So I'll talk about Alex's scenario. So Alex, with $75,000, that's nice. But in reality, most people are going to spend through that pretty quickly, $75,000 isn't going to last a whole lot of time. So if you need insurance, can you qualify, number one, for a term policy to cover you until you don't need insurance anymore? Because for $120,000, for $75,000, you could probably buy that for like $10 a month. I would actually recommend you get more if you do need insurance, like $400,000 or $500,000 at least, maybe 10 to 12 times your income to start with. But this just doesn't sound like a good deal. So Alex, if you want more help with this, then definitely reach out, because this doesn't sound like a good deal at all. This sounds like one of those policies people sell you that you just don't really need, and they're trying to make a commission. This is why I don't like these folks, and I really believe we need a fiduciary rule so that people have to do things in your best interest, not just only to earn a commission, okay? So let's take a look at some other questions here. All right. So Warren's asking a question. It's like 5 questions. So 64 with a 10-year-old daughter and a 401k and a federal pension. Should he take SS now? Okay. So I don't know if you should take SS now, to be honest with you, because I have to look at everything. So the question is, if you took Social Security now, is that going to make sure that you're totally covered as far as your expenses? Or would it be better for you to delay a little bit and possibly have a higher benefit because you need that on top of your pension? The other thing I'd want to know is, are you going to be affected by a government pension offset where your Social Security gets reduced because you have a government pension? So that's another thing I would want to consider. If you're 64 with a 10-year-old daughter, then you definitely probably want to have some money set aside so that if something were to happen to you, that she would have some funds to take care of herself. So I would look into maybe a life insurance policy, or if in your case you have a good chunk in your 401k, then it might make sense to live off Social Security and your pension and then delay drawing from your 401k to make sure she's good, at least until she's old enough to work, 18, 19, 20. And then at that point, you can consider spending more. But a life insurance policy, like a term insurance policy for maybe 10 years or so, I don't think it would be crazy expensive unless your health is compromised. But a 10-year-old at that age, you don't want to leave her without anything and burn through all your assets. So one way or another, I would really want you to consider those things when you are making your decision, okay? I think that'd be really important. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I think I got us back in action with our little thing here. So hopefully this works. Okay, cool. So let me get these out of here. Okay. Let's see what Charlie has to ask here. Okay. So Charlie is 62 years old, small business owner. He made that in another comment. Taking Social Security at full retirement age, reducing my payroll to the maximum allowed. How or can I pay myself the difference through a Roth 401k? Well, if you are a small business owner, couldn't you just set up a 401k at your work, right? But if you're trying to do a Roth 401k, that counts as income at the end of the day. So that doesn't help you, if you're trying to stay below Social Security earnings, which I think is 128.4 right now. So 128, let me just double check this number. Social Security max earnings for 2019. Okay, so max taxable wage base here, So max taxable wage base for Social Security in 2019 is 132,900. Okay, so if you try to keep your income under there, so you don't pay any more in Social Security, I think that's what it sounds like you're doing. I'm a little bit confused on this question, Charlie. 62 years old, small business owner, taking at full retirement age, reducing my payroll to maximum allowed. Okay, how can I pay myself the difference to a 401k? You would just open up a Roth 401k and put the money in there. I don't think it really has anything to do with Social Security because that's after-tax money. So really doesn't have anything to do with it, to be honest. So if I misread your question, Charlie, please restate it because it's not really making too much sense to me, honestly. So I'll do my best with it. Okay. So let's move on to the next question here. Let's see. Okay, I think that might be all the questions we have. Let me check this other one here. Okay, no, so there's some good questions here. All right, whoa, all right, long string. Okay, so Mary Lou has a husband 17 years older, and he gets, so 76, and he gets $2,200 per month, 100 per month in Social Security. Okay. I wonder if I can make this thinner. Okay. And he's 76. So then she's 59. And then at 62, she'll get 1,600 at 62 and 2,400 at 67, which is full retirement age. Okay. I would love to retire at age 62. Do I wait to claim mine or take it at 62? And if I outlive him, take the 2,400 that is his. Thank you. And she says, go Irish, beat Taylor. Okay. So probably I think it's like basketball or something going on. Just so you guys know, I don't watch sports. I have no time for that. But yeah, I like Notre Dame. So that's good. So you know what, Mary Lou, like that makes some sense because if you were to take it early, you can collect yours for those years, and then you will qualify for his benefit when he passes away. So I could see that making sense. And yeah, might make sense there for you to do that. But I still want to run the numbers because if you delay, yeah, I mean, maybe 62 is not the right age. Maybe it's 63 or 64, but I could see that making sense, right? So I wouldn't say no to that. But I would also consider how does it impact the rest of your retirement scenario? If you have his 2,200 and your 1,600, and that's 3,800, how does that set you up for retirement? If you have 3,800 coming in as your floor, does that put you in a good place? Are you comfortable doing that? Then if you're comfortable, then that might be good. That might be something good. So definitely consider that. Not a bad idea. Okay. So Marcia says she has $10,000 to invest. Should I put it in my Roth IRA, a CD paying 3.6% interest, or put additional in my traditional 401k? Okay, so $10K to invest. Okay. So should she do a Roth IRA, a CD at 3.6%, that's probably a no, or 401k? Okay, so something I would consider for you, Marcia, is one, your risk tolerance, okay? Because if you're happy taking no risk and getting 3.6%, then maybe that's the right move, okay? If you don't want to see any variability in the market. I don't know how old you are, so if you're listening, if you can tell me how old you are, that'd be great. But, if I had it's always dangerous, right? So I'm not going to guess because I might get a lot of hate mail from you guys, and I don't want hate mail, okay? So I'm not going to guess how old you are. But let's just say, for example, you were 55, okay? And you're still working, and you maybe have 10 years until retirement, and you had $10,000 to invest. Then that Roth IRA could be very powerful for you, right? So you can, if you're over 50, you could put 7K, you could put 7K in your IRA. Or you can start maxing out the 401k, and do it pre-tax, because if you don't pay any tax this year, then that could be a good thing. So I would look at your tax bracket, right? So the thing to consider, what tax bracket are you in? Okay, so what tax bracket are you in? I'd want to know that. And then I want to know age. Okay, and then I want to know risk tolerance. Because if this money can just go away for a long time and you have at least 5 years, and I think you can be investing this money. If this is money you need within 5 years, I don't think you should be investing it. I think you should keep it somewhere safe like the CD. But if this is money for the long term, excuse me, then I would probably lean more towards a Roth IRA or 401k, and I want to look at tax brackets. Okay, those are the things that I want to know to make sure I gave you a good information there. But those are some things to look at. Okay, so I think that is all of our questions, guys. I don't have anything else that came through. So here's what I have for you. I have a couple things for you, okay? Here's what I want to talk to you about. 2 things, okay? So I think you guys know I was doing this in conjunction with the nonprofit. So let's see if I can get this here. I don't know if I have this on. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. Where did it go? Okay. So if you guys want to help out this nonprofit I work with, you can go to idealcdc.com/give. Even $5 helps. We really appreciate it. We do programs for a lot of teenagers, guys. We have about 40 teenagers or so, 30 to 40, I believe we're doing this year. We give out scholarships to go to college. We give out money so that they can start a small business because they go through our entrepreneurship program, then get seed funding through there. We give them money that goes, when they get money for college, by the way, we give it directly to the school, okay? So it's going to go towards their tuition and their books first, and if there's something left over, they will get that for use. We also put it towards gas cards and things like that. So it's just a really wonderful organization. We're helping out a lot of people, and the average income, I believe, of our folks we're helping is about $41,000, and this is in Los Angeles, okay? So Los Angeles, low income is low to moderate income is anything under, I believe, $105,000, or at least $99,000 or below. Rent on average in Los Angeles is about $2,500 per month. So just imagine if you're making $40,000 as a family. Most of these families are sharing apartments, and so they'll have multiple people in one room. So if there's anything you could do to help out, even $5, that'd be wonderful. I would love for you guys to do that. I really appreciate it. And if you wanted to, I'm going to put this over here, and if you wanted to have a chat with me about your retirement, then you could definitely do that. And I have this up here where if you'd like to make an appointment to talk with me, okay? So in case you didn't know, I do offer 45-minute consultations for no charge. They're complimentary. And what we do in these consultations, we'll spend about 45 minutes discussing everything about your retirement situation. We're going to talk about where you're currently at, where you want to go, and I'm going to ask you a lot of questions to help you figure out what are all the big things you need to do to make sure you can retire with confidence, okay? And at that point, if you want to go do that all on your own, then there's no harm, no foul. You have a great game plan to go do that on your own. And if you want my help, we can talk about that too. But these are no charge and they're completely complimentary. So if you want to schedule time with me, I have limited slots each week, and those are there for you. I will put the links to both of these things down in the comments. And other than that, guys, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching. This was a long training, but we're going to do these every Sunday, okay? So I'm going to do these each Sunday the next few weeks all the way through April. And if you have really basic questions, I'm not opposed, guys. I will sit here and do a budget with you, okay? We can do a budget. We can talk about the basics of what an IRA is. We can talk about just getting out of debt. We can talk about all these things you want to talk about. I have no problem with that at all. So these next Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific time, please be ready for that and show up. Put your questions down when I post the event, and I will answer your questions just like I did today, okay? So I appreciate you so much, guys. Have a great afternoon. If you need anything else, let me know. Other than that, have a great weekend. Bye-bye now.